Yes, we are. All righty, all right. And let's see. Continue to do admit. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. If I seem a little bit distracted, I apologize. I'm having to monitor the chat room and admit people into the session and take care of all the other business at the same time. But you know what? It's all good because Cub Growl is fun. It's first opportunity for your camping, for your family to do some camping this fall season. And we are just so pleased to have you here. So if you have any questions, feel free to put that in the chat room, please. Let me see, I'll have to do is click that chat function. Because there are so many people that are on the chat, it might be a little bit difficult for me to see if you do a hand raise. So again, just please be sure to actually put any questions into the chat. And then we are going to go ahead and jump into the meeting. So, Cub Growl, yes, we do this basically every year. It's a great opportunities for families to get their feet wet a little bit as far as some camping. It is mostly designed for our lions, which are our kindergartners, and then also our tigers, which are our first graders, and their families. But every scout, whether K1, 2, 3, or 5, will have a great time, as well as the siblings. And every registered participant will also get that lovely Cub Growl patch. So, one of the things we're going to go through, besides again answering your questions, if you would be so kind as to put those into the chat, we're going to go through the participant handbook. So, the camp director is Missy Campbell. It's her contact information. And by the way, the participant handbook is listed on the council website. You can download that for yourself if you'd like.
Yes,
Missy Campbell can't be with us here this evening. I have the privilege of serving as staff advisor. My name's Anthony Ingram. My contact information is there as well. One of the things I want to mention just right off is I think obviously you all have registered for Cub Growl, either session one or session two. That's why you have the link to this particular meeting this evening. But registration will be open at least until 11:30 p.m. And the more, the merrier. One of the hallmarks of a Cub Scout camping event is that the numbers always increase significantly the closer that we get to the event. So, say for instance, back on September 18th, we had 129 registrations, and as of right now, I believe we're at 311. And again, we anticipate that growing significantly before 11:30 p.m. tonight. If you know somebody that just really, 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 really wants to get in and they can't do so before 11:30 p.m., they can contact myself or Missy directly, and we'll see whether or not we still have space in either session one or session two. Okay. Yes, every registered person will get a patch, whether that's an adult or a sibling or even the scout themselves, obviously. So thank you for that question. So in the Cub Growl participant handbook, it gives you a little information about different things that are required, a little bit of information as far as the background of the program itself. So Cubs will be divided into campsites organized by their packs. A lot of times, what will happen is the pack will register. As a matter of fact, we have one pack out of what we call the Mount LeConte district, which is kind of to the west, which is West Knoxville, Anderson County, I think also into the Lenore City area. And that pack has 41 people coming. So a lot of people do register as a pack. Now, after the registration officially closes this evening, the camp director, Missy Campbell, will be making campsite assignments. The first order of preference is for packs to be put into campsites together. There is plenty of room in each campsite. Some are larger than others, but no matter which campsite you're in, it's sure to be comfortable because either each campsite itself or between each campsite there is a bathhouse. Those have flush toilets and hot showers. So be very, very comfortable. There's usually also a pavilion in every campsite that has electricity in it in case you need to charge a cell phone. So moving on into session one and session two schedule. So if you are in session one, you can check in at 6 p.m. That's on Friday, this coming Friday, and then 8 p.m. is a campfire program. That's sure to be a lot of fun because this is so quick, such a
People
quick
who are Friday night to Saturday morning.
are
You're
not
doing
being
Saturday
asked
to
to
Sunday
do
morning.
campsite skits. These are going to be taken care of by some of the older scouts and Scouts BSA. So again, Cub Scouts is grades K through 5. Scouts BSA is ages 11 to 18. So the older Scouts will be taking care of the campfire program. Lights out at 11 p.m. Saturday morning, 7 a.m. bright and early. We'll have flag ceremony up at the parade field and breakfast in our dining hall. It's going to be good food, really satisfying. I know the gentleman and his team that do most of the cooking for us, and it will be a treat. And then your programming will actually be Saturday from 8:30 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. And then checkout will be from 11:45 until 12:30 p.m. So a quick turnaround for session one. I'm going to go ahead and jump into session two as far as the itinerary, then share some information with you that will be of help. So session two schedule, you'll be checking in at 1:30 p.m. That is on Saturday. Then your program time is from 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. 6:15 p.m. will be the closing, the flag ceremony and dinner, again in the dining hall there at the top of the camp area. 8 p.m. for your campfire program, 11 p.m. lights out. So a couple of things to remember. Um, if you are coming either for session one or session two, and you're with a pack, and the pack will be pulling a trailer into a campsite, that is absolutely fine. If, however, you are not the designee as far as pulling the pack trailer into a campsite, all vehicles must be left in the upper parking lot area. And then you can either bring wagons with you, or we also, I believe, have some wagons that you might be able to use. And there will also be a shuttle that can take people down into camp. So since this is a camp, you can imagine we don't have wide four-lane roads in camp. We will have emergency vehicles, say for instance by the camp ranger, maybe by the camp director, perhaps by myself. We also always, I believe, have vehicles down at the different ranges in case we need to shuttle equipment back and forth. But generally speaking, after camp starts, it's only foot traffic that is allowed on the roads in camp, and everything is a one-way direction. There's a large loop that can take you from the parking lot down the back road of camp, which is gravel, and then back up the other side of camp on that loop, which is a paved area which takes you by the trading post. It also takes you by campsite number 3. Okay. So again, that is the basic itinerary and the schedule. Again, safety
Weekend.
is always our number one
Yeah.
priority. So again, let me just mention that if you have the pack trailer, you can pull that into camp, but it has to stay parked in camp, the camp that you're assigned to, until you are ready to exit. One of the things that we ask all vehicles to do is once you come into the camp property, that you slow down to about 10, 15 miles an hour, that you put your flashers on, and please be sure if you are coming in on Friday, especially Friday around dusk, this is a heavily wooded acres. It's about Camp Buck Tom's is about 800 acres on Watts Bar Lake. There are deer. There may be wild turkeys on property as well. So please keep a lookout for those. Very good reason to make sure that you drive slowly and that you are observant as far as your surroundings. So, one of the things that people want to know about is the Cub Growl program achievements. Again, we have our lions, kindergartners, tigers, first grade, wolves, second grade, bears, third grade. Webelos will be loyal scouts is fourth grade, and then our AOL, Arrow of Light, which are our fifth grade. These are the requirements that they will be completing or achievements they will be completing, and that can be checked off. Okay, moving on, there's information as far as registration. Says only parents or legal guardians can camp with scouts. If you are not a parent or legal guardian, you must be a registered member of Scouting America to attend camp. So this applies to the overnight camping. If you are an extended family member, and we're talking about adults, So a legal guardian will be mom or dad or the parent, the legal guardian of the scout. But if we're talking about aunts, uncles, grandparents, then they cannot camp overnight on property unless they are a registered member of Scouting America in a position called Unit or Scouter Reserve, which means that they do have to complete the adult application, the background check, and the youth protection training. So if you have grandparents or other extended family members that are adults, they can be on property during the day, but they cannot actually camp on property overnight. This is a restriction by the national office, and we always observe that at all of our Cub camping. Actually, all of our camping, whether it's Cub Scouts, Scouts, BSA, Venturers, or Sea Scouts. Okay, information as far as the refund policy. Moving forward, I believe this is page 4. Check in and check out procedures. Every person Every person that is going to be on camp property must provide a printed copy, not information on their cell phone that you show to us, but it must be a printed copy of a health form, Part A, Part B, and also copies of your insurance information. We have registered medical personnel on staff. So when you check in at the dining hall, when you first arrive, we ask you to do that first. Please do not go down into your campsite, say, I'll come back up later and turn in paperwork, because too often that just doesn't happen. Please be sure that you turn in your paperwork when you check in and turn in your health form Part A and Part B. Those will be given back to you when you officially check out. So again, please make sure you officially check in and then officially check out. At the checkout, we will give your health forms back to you. That's also when you will get your patches for all registered participants. Also at check-in, everyone is going to be given a wristband that needs to be worn at all times. The funny thing about the wristbands is they don't say Great Smoky Mountain Council. I think they say PTA. But the reason for that is that the company that we ordered them from sent us a misprint and they said, oh, well, never mind, just keep them. So every person that checks in is going to get a wristband. We ask you to keep those on. That not only means not only verifies for us, but that you officially checked in, but also that is what we will check as far as when you come to the dining hall for your designated meal. Okay, the address for Camp Buck Tom's is 373 Camp Buck Tom's Road, Rockwood, Tennessee 37854. The easiest way to get there, well, if you're coming from the Knoxville area or east of Knoxville, would probably be 40 West. If you are coming in on Friday for the Friday camp, then you can imagine there's probably going to be a lot of traffic, almost a traffic parking lot on 40 West. So we encourage you, if you're coming in for session 1 and you are checking in on Friday, yes, it's possible to check in Saturday morning, but you already know Saturday morning schedule is going to be very tight. So if you are planning on coming in on Friday evening, please keep in mind traffic on 40 West heading towards Rockwood. If you've never been to Camp Buck Tom's or if you've never been to Rockwood, when you take that exit and you turn towards Rockwood, please keep in mind to observe all posted speed limits. You know, you've already invested in camp. We don't necessarily want you to invest in the Rockwood economy, if you know what I mean, as far as making certain that you observe all posted speed limits. Accessibility and special needs. I believe there will be a special needs area. Anyone who has auditory issues, maybe needs a calm, quiet place, that will be available at camp. As this also gives you information as far as mobility needs, sensory needs, dietary needs. So if anyone has special dietary needs, we try to accommodate those as best we can. Obviously, if something is a little bit rare, then we always suggest, just in case we cannot, please make sure that you are prepared as far as meeting those very unique, your own very unique dietary needs. Also, one of the things that we may not be able to prevent is cross contamination. Say, for instance, I have a sister who's very sensitive to pork. So even if she's not eating pork, if pork is cooked in a pan and then eggs are cooked in that same pan, she has a sensitivity to that. So please keep those things in mind as well. As far as medication, um, if there's any medication that any member of your group needs, then normally, especially if it is an extended camp, say 3 days or more, then that is held by the medical staff, and then you come and check that out and take that as needed. You all can well imagine the reason why, that if a person is on any type of medication, they leave it in their tent, then okay, then if someone comes into their tent and accesses that medication while they're away at a program area, it could cause a significant health issue. So again, under normal circumstances, that would be locked up with the medical staff. This is such a short turnaround, however, if there's any specific medication that has to be taken, then it's probably best that that be kept on your person at all times. There will be a trading post on property that will be open at given hours during the weekend. There will be lots of fun items in there that they can purchase, whether that's a t-shirt or hat or any other type of memorabilia, maybe ices or different things like that. So that's always a popular place. If for no other reason, usually it's always well air conditioned. Okay, camp policies and procedures as far as CPAPs, electrical use. We've already talked a little bit about vehicles. And again, one of the things that we require is that unless your vehicle is pulling the pack trailer into the campsite, and it will have to be parked there, it can't pull in the trailer, unhook, and then drive back out. It has to stay attached to the trailer unless your vehicle is pulling the pack trailer into the campsite, then your vehicle must stay in the upper parking lot area. Now, cell service up at Camp Buck Tom's can be a little bit spotty depending upon where you are. I previously used Verizon. I now use AT&T. So sometimes the service is pretty good. Again, depending upon where you are, you might see a lot of people walking around holding their cell phone up in the air, trying to find the best signal possible. Okay, bathroom rules. One of the things that we mentioned was at each campsite or between each campsite, there are bathhouses. There is signage on each side of the bathhouse. When you first walk up to the bathhouse, there are sinks there where people can wash their hands, maybe splash water on their face in the mornings, brush their teeth, that type of thing. But on each side of the bathhouse, you can either turn to the right or to the left. There is signage there that clearly indicates adult male or youth male, adult female, or youth female. And those should never be mixed. So please make sure that you
Boys
apply
zero,
the
girls
correct
zero.
signage. And these are little like sliding signage that you can use. Adult female, adult male, youth male, youth female. And when you go into that side as far as where the toilets are, and then also once you're done, please slide those back over to the neutral position. Or one of the best ways to make sure you don't accidentally walk in on someone is simply to, of course, shout out, anyone in here, that type of thing, just to make sure. The basic policy on camp is that no scout is ever alone at any time. If you have a fifth grader and they're feeling like they're pretty well grown, well, still, they cannot go anywhere by themselves. They must have at least one or two other buddies with them at all times, or they must have their parent or legal guardian with them at all times.
Not gonna
There
leave my
is
side.
information what we were just talking about as far as the
He ain't
buddy
gonna let
system.
me anyway.
Also, when you're talking about food in camp, we talk a little bit about the trading post, shooting sports. Okay, we are very, very specific when it comes to shooting sports, whether that's BB guns, archery, or slingshots. You cannot bring any type of shooting sports equipment on property. You can only use the shooting sports equipment that we provide. That means there is no crossbows, there are no adjusted BB guns. We did have a situation one time where a parent had shortened the shoulder stock of a BB gun for his son. We had to lock that up. because he had it in camp. And again, it was accessible to others, whether it was loaded or not, it just was not permitted. So we had to basically confiscate that until they were ready to leave camp. So again, please, please, please don't put yourself, don't put us in that position. The reason we only use our shooting sports equipment is it has been inspected. We know it's in good shooting order and it's also safe. So again, shooting sports, we're very specific about that, and we just ask
Bring
you
a
to go on
millimeter with
with
me.
us.
And
There's information here about meal
Be
times, also information
great to be in
about
the woods.
behaviors, and also prohibited items. So let me just touch on these very
Be
quickly. No smoking in camp. This includes electronic cigarettes, so no smoking, no tobacco products, no vaping in camp. You
dead.
just must absolutely partake of those. You are required to go up to the parking lot and go to get into your own vehicle to do so. No
Okay.
alcoholic beverages of any kind on camp are permitted. No fixed blade sheath knives on camp. No
No more.
firearms. This says BB guns or archery equipment are allowed on camp property that are not provided by us. And then no pets allowed at camp. Okay. We know that some people are, I'll use the term skittish around animals, especially dogs, whether large or small. So no pets are permitted on camp property. Okay, let me just pause here for a moment. Are there any questions? Again, maybe in the chat area. I don't see any questions at the moment. Okay, question.
If I can
All adults need
bring a
to do the
30 30
trainings or just volunteers?
high powered scope.
Are you, let me see, this is from Hank. If you're referring to the youth protection training, that is only required by the registered volunteers. If you're coming as a parent or legal guardian of a scout, no, you are not required to do the youth protection training. There is also a hazardous weather training that is available for free through My Dot Scouting, but again, that is not a requirement. Yes, yes. Okay, so someone was saying if everyone doesn't mind to just mute their profile, that way we won't hear background noises. Okay, also another question. Will parents and scouts need to bring health forms and insurance?
Power so.
Yes, that is a requirement. Everyone must
Oh,
bring a printed copy of the health form part A and B, and also copies of their insurance. Okay, also another question is asking about the Adirondacks. Okay, so at each of our campsites, we have what are called Adirondacks, which are three-sided shelters. So think of a shoebox with one side knocked out. Okay, so with an Adirondack, there are bunk shelves built into the walls. We have four-person Adirondack, six-person Adirondack, and eight-person Adirondacks. One of the restrictions to keep in mind is that we cannot mix youth and adults from different families in the same Adirondack. So, say for instance, and I believe in the registration they did update the form so you can request to do either tent camping or Adirondack camping. But again, we cannot mix. We are not allowed to mix youth and families, excuse me, youth and adults from different families in the same Adirondack. So that would mean, say, for instance, you have two families of four. All right. Can those two families be in an eight-person Adirondack? The answer is no, because that would be mixing youth and adults from different families in the same sleeping area. Now, what sometimes happens, especially if you have a large cub pack, as I mentioned, there's one cub pack that's bringing a total of 41 people. I think that includes 16 or 20, maybe even 24 youth, either scouts or siblings. So, say for instance, eight of those scouts can sleep in one Adirondack together because it's only the youth sleeping together. And then the adults can tent camp around the Adirondack just to kind of provide a perimeter to make sure the kids don't get up and wander off in the night or anything. Okay, so let me see. So one question is, if we don't carry insurance on ourselves, how do we do the health form? You would still need to bring a printed copy of the health form. That is a downloadable, fillable PDF that is on the council site where you would actually do your registrations. Okay, all very good questions. And moving on. Let's see, emergency procedures. Okay, we did just have a question that says, do we need to stay with our kid? I planned on dropping him off. So, no, this is not a drop-off event. Doesn't matter if you have a kindergarten or a first grader, which that would be against the national policy, or even if you have a second grader through a fifth grader. A parent or legal guardian must be on property with their scout at all times. Now, we have had situations where dad drops him off first and then they tag team. Maybe mom comes later. That's fine, or vice versa. But a parent or legal guardian must be at camp at all times with every scout. Okay, so information here as far as emergency procedures regarding severe weather, regarding fires, regarding medical emergencies. And again, this is one of the reasons why we require everyone to have a health form, because if something were to happen, then the medical staff that's on site, say, especially if the person was non-responsive or couldn't speak for themselves for whatever reason, the medical staff on site has to be able to provide the proper level of care, proper level of care to make certain that that individual is appropriately taken care of. Okay, items to bring to camp. Tents, sleeping bags or blankets, sleeping pad, pillow or and pillow cover. Mosquito netting is optional. You know, in East Tennessee, not only do we not know what the weather's going to be, the weather can change and we can have all four seasons in one day. So we just encourage you to be prepared. They probably want to bring their scout uniform if they have one, especially for the opening flags or closing flag ceremony each day. If your scout does not have a scout uniform, don't let that be a problem. It's not a requirement. Okay, clothes, rain gear, again, be prepared. Closed toe shoes are very, very important. Flip flops are not a good idea. Crocs are not a good idea, especially for the kids. Sandals are not a good idea. We encourage youth and adults to have closed toe shoes, especially, say, for instance, if you're walking over at the BB range or the archery range, that is a dirt road with gravel on it. And it is far too easy for for rocks to get into sandals, Crocs, and flip-flops and injure someone. So again, we strongly encourage, actually we require closed-toe shoes be worn in camp. Also, if you're planning to shower, again, I'm just going to leave that out there. If you're planning to shower, I recommend that you bring shower shoes, toiletries, water bottle, flashlight or headlamp with extra batteries. A battery operated fan is optional. Further up in the guide, it mentions CPAP machines. There is electricity in each camp use a uh, that you can use a power cord for to charge the CPAP, but we cannot guarantee how many outlets are going to be available in camp, just depending upon how many people may be needing the power. Okay, so the Camp Buck Tom's map, again, you'll come in, you'll go 40 west, depending upon where you're coming from. Then you'll go into Rockwood, come out to camp. Again, it's a little bit of a ride. Is not as long a ride, even at slow speeds, as far as internet versus once you take the exit. And again, please observe the posted speed limits as you're going through Rockwood. And then as you get onto camp property, posted speeds again. But this gives you information as far as once you're on property, as far as checking in at the dining hall. It's going to be a great experience. So again, we are very grateful for everyone signing up for Cub Growl. And let me just ask very quickly, are there any questions?
This is Hank again. So I was looking at the medical form for Part A and B. You need
Yes.
both sections of Part B, right? There's two pages to that, the immunization record and the Part 1, which is the surgery record, right? Health
I,
history.
I believe there is a part B1 and a part B2.
Yes. Okay. I was just checking on if you need the immunization records.
Yes, yes, that information is part of the form, so we do need that completed. Okay. So just as far as being comfortable, one of the things that I would mention, again, regardless of the weather, when kids and even adults are running around having fun, and we believe this will be as fun, if not more so, for the adults as for the kids. But a lot of times you may not feel like you're sweaty, but of course, we all perspire. If you try to get into a nice, dry, warm sleeping bag and you haven't changed clothes, haven't changed out of your daytime clothes, especially if the temperature drops, then that can freeze on your body. So we encourage everyone, when we talked about a change of clothes, we encourage you to bring with you not just a change of outer clothes, but a change of underclothes as well, so that you can slip into something dry before you slip into your sleeping bag. Just one of those little tips and tricks that if you've done any extended camping, or if you haven't done any extended camping, then you may not be aware of. Okay, any additional questions? Again, we very much appreciate everybody coming out. Let me scroll back up here to the top. Just information that you may want to capture. Again, the camp director, Missy Campbell, there's her phone number, the 865-748-6431. Then myself as the council staff advisor, Anthony Ingram, and my phone number, 865-455-5268. Again, if you're planning on coming as a pack, but you're not sure whether or not everyone has registered for Cub Growl, but they may want to camp with the pack, registration will be open until 11:30 p.m. this evening, and then we will officially shut off the registration to make sure that we have more than enough time to have adequate program supplies and have ordered enough food for the event. Now, unless we've reached full capacity, which full capacity is roughly 250 participants, not just Cub Scouts, 250 participants per session. Unless we're at full capacity, it is likely that we might be able to, on a one by one case basis, maybe add some additional families. I cannot guarantee that. We don't want to push it too far and then get a whole lot of extra people beyond the original cutoff, because if we go over, then it makes for longer lines at each of the individual program areas, makes longer lines at the dining hall for meal times. But as long as we're under our, and this is a self-imposed maximum number, as long as we're under that number, then unless everybody goes to the BB range at one time, then there should not be any long lines, BB range, archery range, or any other program area. Unless all 200 plus people just show up there at one time, then there should not be any problem as far as long waits. What will happen next is, once the official registration closes at 11:30 this evening, then the camp director, Missy Campbell, she will actually do campsite assignments. And again, that will first be done by packs, and then she'll try to accommodate any individual requests. So just picking a number, say for instance, a pack is going to bring 60 people, then they're probably going to get a campsite that is large enough to accommodate all 60 people. So again, we try to keep the packs together. And if we have families, here or there, they're not coming with their pack, or it's just a few people, sometimes we will put them together. Our council covers 21 counties, and one of the beautiful things about an activity like this is that you have the opportunity to meet people from across the 21 counties. And true story, a lot of times lifelong friendships are made from these chance meetings. So one of the questions that just popped up is, for the Adirondacks, if we chose that option, will we still need to bring a tent? So it depends on the number of people in your family and whether or not your kids might want to sleep with other kids from the pack or some friends. So again, let me just mention, we can put kids from different families into the same Adirondack, but we cannot mix families, adults and youth, from different families in the same Adirondack. If you chose the Adirondack option, then Missy Campbell, the camp director, will do it the best that she can to honor that. But since the motto is be prepared, we encourage you to be prepared and maybe have a tent with you just in case. One other question that I was asked, and I can close with this in general, unless there are other questions, is how big a tent can we bring? Well, I've seen some pretty large tents in my time. You know, the kind that kind of have like a living room in the middle, and then the kids' sleeping area on one side, the adult sleeping area on the other side. I don't think that there's a limit. Of course, we don't want anybody to roll in there with a circus tent, okay? But if you have a large family-sized tent, then we can accommodate that in pretty much every campsite. The one restriction that we have is that campsite number 3 at the top of the hill is reserved for individuals that have mobility issues. Say, for instance, someone is wearing a cast on their leg, or they're in a wheelchair, or a knee brace or ankle brace. So we do have families that have specifically requested that. So again, Missy Campbell, the camp director, makes those assignments. Okay, so one other question over here. Okay, we have a very limited number of tents available. I don't think any more than about 8. So if you don't have a tent and now it's not a good time for you to invest in one, then I suggest that you call the office as early tomorrow as possible and see if we still have any available. If we do, then we'll be glad to make those available to you for free to use at the event. Then there's one other question. It says, I don't believe our pack registered together. However, during the registration, I think the form asked for our pack number. Will you group members of the same pack when assigning sites? So yes, even though the pack may not have registered, say for instance, the Cub Master didn't go in and register everybody at one time. If you put your pack number in, again, the camp director, Missy Campbell, will do what she can to keep people together as a pack. Okay, one thing that's also helpful if you can manage this is that if you're going to be camping together as a pack, to try to coordinate arriving together as a pack. Again, not a requirement. We know everybody's schedule is different, you know, whether Friday evening or Saturday mornings. So you may not be able to put together a caravan and drive down to Camp Buck Tom's. But if you can, that would be great. We can get everybody checked in at the same time. And again, let me mention, I suggest that you bring a cart or a wagon with you to carry your items down to your campsite. Also, we will have like it's kind of like a passenger van, but a much larger version of a passenger van. But you can imagine that it takes time to load people and equipment on it and then take them down to their campsite, unload the people and the equipment, and get back up to the parking lot area. So it could take a little while between trips. So the quickest way to load in and get to your campsite is maybe to bring your own wagons to take your things down yourself. So again, any questions? But good questions so far. We appreciate everybody being dialed in with us. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and bring this to a close. This recording will be posted online. I think we covered pretty much most of what anybody would normally ask. So if there are no further questions right this moment, as we say, going once, going twice. So again, we appreciate everybody registering as Cub Scouts, whether this is you're brand new to the fun and adventure of scouting, or you've been around the barn a few times, so to speak. Again, this will be a great experience for you. We look forward to seeing you there, and thank you very much.
Thank you.